Can everyone hear me? Hello.
I can
Hi,
hear
Guys,
medium.
can
you.
you
Can hear you loud
confirm?
and clear. Sorry.
Okay, cool, awesome. Yeah. So thank you guys for coming out. For joining the meeting. This is the second episode of our Fireflies, and I'm your host for today. I'm Muhyiddin Akoni. I'm a senior product manager at Free and also a proud member and a moderator at Probaye. Today we have a special guest joining us. Someone who brings a wealth of knowledge and experience to the table, and I'm thrilled to introduce Kia. I'm sorry, I'm unable to pronounce your name completely, but then I think Kia is it's better, right? Um, she's a true visionary to the world of product management. I've gone through her history a bit, and I'm happy to have you here. Kia, are you there?
Yes, I'm still here. Thank you so much. I'm happy to be here as well. Hopefully, I'll add some value today for everyone who's here.
Yeah, awesome. Before we go, let me just do a brief introduction at what we do here at Proba. We are just product management community where we tutor people who are interested in joining becoming a product manager. And it's just basically to bridge the gap in the knowledge out there. Today we have a lot of product management out there, and they actually don't just know the basics, right? The community is majorly to help you understand what product management is, what it entails, and if you need help, we offer you a solution from our courses, basically. And also, part of our solution is also what we are doing here today, which is, create multiple questions from product managers, what's their headache is like, and bring somebody that is super super senior, somebody that have gone through it before, and ask those questions. And the person from the experience help us tackle them, and they are able to know how to attend to them way forward, basically. Kia, do you mind doing a brief introduction about yourself also before moving on?
Of course. Good afternoon again, everyone. Um, my name is Kia, but my name is actually Kia Rabetswe. I am Tswana from South Africa. But I'm comfortable with all of you calling me Kia. So I've been a product manager actually since the beginning of my career. I started my career in the ICT industry. I currently work for a company by the name of Telkom. That's actually where I started my career. After about 4 years, then I left to go explore other opportunities in other companies, but it's been mostly in the telecoms industry. I worked for Vodacom. I also did a stint in the financial service provider in a bank called FNB. I worked there for quite a while. And then now I'm back in Telkom. I guess Telkom is my home. That's where I'm meant to be. So product management is what I know. It's what I've been doing for a very long time. So yeah, hopefully I'll leave you guys with a bit of knowledge today. I look forward to our discussion. Thank you.
Thank you for Kia. And it's super happy for you that you're able to work where you call home. I think one of those beautiful things for me also is that I call my engineering team, the product team, my second family, because aside job, we are able to collaborate and be able to drive through the common goals. I mean, and we are able to also connect outside work, right? I mean, so aside managing the product, you also manage people also. Uh, yeah, makes sense. I mean, it's fine to just go deep into what we have today. I'm sure. I mean, the discussion points must have been shared with you earlier, but then I'm happy to go through them one after the other, and you can help us with the one you want to go with first. I mean, one of the first one is that what is the role of user research in product development? I mean, it's helping people define the significance of user research and how it shapes successful product, basically. I mean,
Yes. Okay. Great stuff. We can go through them in order. I'm fine with that. Okay. So user research and its significance in product management. I think firstly we need to just set a base, right? From a product management perspective, I think product management is one of those. It's such a what's the word I'm looking for? It's such a complex role, right? Because you're actually a one-stop shop. So as much as you represent customers, you also have to represent the company that you work for. So user research is actually one of the most important things that we as product managers need to do, because it we get to that's how we get to know our customers, right? That's how we get to know who we are serving. But we also need to make a clear distinction between market research and user research, because user research is more personal. That's when you get to really understand what drives your users, why they make the decisions they make, and why they behave the way they do. And another thing is us being consumers as well. Sometimes we tend to have our own ideas and assumptions of what our customers are going to do. And user research actually helps us to sort of either correct those assumptions or actually add on more information about our users. So I think if you want to take it back to a textbook approach, user research is actually it's a methodic study, right? You need to have it's a methodic study where your goal there is to find out your users their needs and their pain points. And the reason why you'd want to do that is to make sure that whatever product or service or app or whatever it is you are in the business of actually addresses their needs and actually takes away their pain, right? And user research allows us to actually learn from their own perspectives, not our own, but their own perspectives, their own knowledge, and their own experiences of what they've been through, and it also tells us why they decide to do things in a certain way. Yeah. Should i just keep talking? Or are you gonna lead me here?
to be honest, I mean, it's fine if you want to keep talking. I mean, we are enjoying it. I mean, like you
Okay.
mentioned, right? It is how it helps you understand what they need. I mean, and also how they are feeling about a certain problem, basically. And this helps you think through how best to solve it. I mean, from the
Yes.
empathy perspective, you are able to know that, oh, I think this is what this person is feeling, and this is exactly how they will have loved it to be solved, basically. I mean, yeah. Right.
Exactly. That's correct, right? And I think what's also important, it's also about how they experience what you are offering them, right? You might be addressing their needs, yes, but how are they or how's the experience in terms of acquiring the product or using the product or even the service itself? How are your users having that experience. So essentially, user research then helps us to build that empathy, right? I mean, to be able to put yourself in the shoes of your either your existing customers or your potential users, that you, if you are maybe looking to attracting new customers, or you're looking to introducing a new product. That user research kind of helps you to take yourself out of your product management hat, and be able to stand in the shoes of your potential users, and think, what is it that drives them, what is it that they need, and what experiences, how do they experience similar products, or what kind of experiences are they expecting in a product like this. And I think it also helps from a marketing communication perspective. If you have that understanding of your customers, you're better able to create those compelling messages. And also, you also have an idea of what features or what benefits do I need to highlight when I promote my products, right? And it adds a lot of value, because even as you after introducing a new product, I mean, it doesn't end there, right? You have to manage the product through its life cycle, from development to introduction into the market, to growth, and all of that, all those stages. Actually, as much as we might say user research is more critical in that development stage, because you want to make sure that whatever product you bring into the market suits the needs of your users, it's also relevant throughout all the stages, right? Because the market changes, your competition catches up with you. Technology improves, or whatever the case might be. So you need to keep going back and actually looking at how they are experiencing it. Now that I've introduced this product, how do my customers feel? Is it addressing the need? How are they experiencing the journey of using the product or buying the product? So I think it's actually it's a critical part of product management. And once you have that information, I think the the management of the product actually becomes a little bit easier, because you make informed decisions, right? And that's actually very important. All the decisions need to be informed, and they need to be informed by your potential users, not by just you and your knowledge and what you think you know, but you should be able to back up every decision with insights from your user research.
I love the fact that you keep bringing that. I mean, users' experience, user research. I mean, user data. It's important at every stage of product life cycle. Basically, I love that.
Yeah.
It just gives the true meaning that I mean, customers are always right. I mean, so I mean, yeah. I mean, I love that, and I also like the fact that you sort of like bring in the marketing team, the product marketing team at some point, which is that they also need to know um, how the user feels about that certain problem. And that's the only way they are able to have a go to market plan. I mean, a proper campaigns that shows them, oh,
Exactly.
we know that you are feeling this, and this is what we have brought for you in a way to solve this. I mean, I
Yeah.
that also. Thank you for that. I think the second thing here is, I mean, now that we understand what user research is and how important it is, what are like the strategies for conducting effective user research? I mean, methodologies, I mean, such as interviews, surveys. How do you go about these things actually? Yeah.
You know what? I think it also depending on how big an organization one works for, right? As a product manager, reality is you don't necessarily go do the research yourself, but you are actually nothing moves without a product manager. That's the reality, because you're a one-stop shop. And you would probably also be the initiator. You would be the initiator of that research. And the most important thing about going into or starting any research is to have a proper definition of what is it that your goals, what are you trying to achieve with this research? What questions are you trying to answer? I think from the very, very beginning, that's the one thing you need to make sure that um, it's quite clear. And also, once you've defined your problem and what questions you want to answer, now you need to go back to what do we think we already know? Because we all do. We all think, okay, you might be thinking, I've been in this business for a while. I think I understand our customers. I think I kind of know. Or you're also looking at, I mean, it might go back to also your secondary research, right? Where you gather some knowledge from your secondary research, and it's good to actually know what you think you know from the beginning, so that at the end, once the research is done, you are able to sort of correlate or even clear up any misconceptions that you may have had about your users. um, that's your second step, right? What do you currently know? And I think after that, you obviously need to go to understanding your deciding on your methods. And I must bring it back to, before I continue, I must bring it back to an understanding that as a product manager, you won't necessarily be doing the research yourself. So you will be collaborating with other teams, and one of them being marketing. Um, I know in most organizations they call them market intelligence. So generally, what you would need to do is your biggest job in the research would be that brief. What do you put in that brief? Because it needs to be very clear what you're trying to achieve, whom they need to be talking to, who there's like the personas. You would need to define those personas, right? As to when the research is done, who are we talking to? Who are these guys that we want to understand their behavior? Have them defined very well. And what we think we know, you put it down there as well. I mean, that would be very good for the research guys, because the reality is, because they don't do what you do, they don't necessarily know what you know. And if you involve them from the very beginning, then you kind of take them along with you in this journey. And once they start knowing what you know, even as you are planning for your research, they're able to add value in terms of suggesting, okay, these are the methods that we probably need to take, seeing as this is a question you want to answer. You want to understand, or let's say you want to understand why people don't use the app as much as they use your, or let's say you've got different points of sale, right? Where a customer can either buy from your app or they can go to your store, and you realize that these people are actually you going to the store more than they are utilizing the app. And those kinds of things are important things for your marketing research guys to understand. If they understand what it is you are selling or what it is you want to sell, then they know what kind of information or what kind of methods they need to use, that they can actually be able to give you the insights or answer the questions that you want to answer with the research. So when it comes to deciding on the method of research that you want or to use, or the one that is suitable, what's important to actually understand is that one method might not really get you everything you need. So you might want to do multiple methods that might complement each other. I think we all know about qualitative and quantitative research. Those are the methods that you might need to decide. From a quantitative perspective, I might want to use surveys, and then from a qualitative perspective, I might want to do interviews. But generally, that would really be based on the kind of business you are in, first of all, and the kind of customers that you want to talk to. Also knowing where you would generally find these customers and all of that. And once you've defined your methods, obviously, then you go to the actual research, actually gathering the data. And I think you might also think to yourself, oh my goodness, where do I find these people? Where do I find these personas, or these people who represent the personas that I want to talk to? That's another benefit of having working with research houses or your internal market intelligence, because they already have these relationships, right? They have these relationships. There are these companies who already have a database of different types of customers, or different types of consumers or people. And if your if your description of who you actually want to talk to is very clear, then it's easier for for your marketing research guys to actually relay that message and say, listen, these are the people we want to talk to. We want to talk to 30-year-olds who reside in the suburbs, or who do, all those demographics, and also where they work or things like that. The granular you go, then the better and the more representative whatever sample you get is going to be. And then the last step, obviously, once you've collected your data, it's obviously the analyzing and synthesis of your data. I think this is the most challenging part, right? Because you get so much data, and then now you've got all of this data and you have to figure out the insights. Because now the reason you're doing research is so that you get certain insights that you can then implement, or insights that are going to inform the decisions you make going forward, be it a new product, or be it the features, or what changes you need to make in a product. So this is another critical step of in conducting effective research, to obviously be able to analyze the research and synthesize this. And there's obviously a lot of tools that you can use, but if you're not doing it yourself, then from a product manager perspective, it's just I think it's important to educate yourself. As much as you are not doing it yourself, understand those methods, understand what you can expect to get, so that if there's anything that's not looking okay, or anything that's not making sense, you can literally go back and say, no, man, but this is not making sense, or I was expecting to see 1, 2, and 3. Or even just the questions that you ask are more strategic and are better able to help you in getting the insights that you actually want to get from the research. And then I think another important thing, I think, to think about when you're looking at research, right? I know a lot of, if you take it back to textbook or whatever, I don't know if a lot of you have actually done academic research or whatever. It's you look at it as it's like a three-dimensional framework of sorts, they say. So all research will obviously be qualitative or quantitative. And as we know it, your qualitative research is that one that gives you those subjective insights. That's where you actually get to know how people experience the product or the service that you are offering. And then with that qualitative research, your aim would be to understand what are the reasons they're using this product or they're not using the product, what motivates them, and what are these actual behaviors that are happening. Whereas quantitative research is more numeric, right? It's going to give you, it can even give you a percentage of people who actually like it, percentage who are of people who are satisfied. But then on their own, right, qualitative research might not give you everything you need. The same as quantitative. You have to find a way to merge the two, so that you can actually be able to get the insights that you need. And it's also about contrasting what people say to actually the things that they do. Because half the time, unfortunately, us as human beings, we say things, but then when we go act, we go doing something else. And we can hardly ever explain why. So doing this kind of research where you have a qualitative base and you've got a quantitative base, you're better able to come up with those. You're better able to see those insights and actually get that information in terms of why customers might be doing what they're doing.
Awesome. Thank you for this. I mean, I like the fact that you said, regardless of how big your team is, whether you have somebody who is like a UX expert, you still have to drive how it should be. I mean, you need to properly hand over and say, this is exactly what I want. This is the exactly. I mean, this is what we are actually looking at to solve, and I feel like this is a question we should ask, or probably review and
Yeah.
make sure that a person is going to go and ask the customers. And I mean, like you also said something that's super important, which is like understanding the industry, right? You need to have a full knowledge of of the industry. I mean, you are trying to you are bringing the solution to basically. Yeah, I also like the fact that you also mentioned that I mean, you get to a stage that you have a lot of feedback already, and it's now left to you to know the quantity. I mean, which how you want to like the strategies on how
Mm.
deal with diverse users group. How you want to also segment the users and the feedback, and know what's the common thing that they all face, right? I mean,
Yeah.
this will also like drive me to my third question, which is like, how do we actually know the feedback that we should pick? How, I mean, what are the strategies do you need to know with diverse user groups that are conflicting the actual feedback that you got from your research?
Oh, that's a good one. That's a good one that I think we all struggle with. Um, I think, I mean, and this is where I'm gonna reiterate, right? If your research questions are very clear, then it becomes very easy to take the feedback, to sort of correlate the feedback back to what you actually want to get. Um, so it's almost like and one thing about research as well, right? It's about starting research on a clean slate. You tend to find or interpret feedback as conflicting or unclear because of your own assumptions, right? You had certain assumptions and you expected certain feedback, but then now you're not getting what you were expecting to get. Then you're like, no, this is not what I expected, and therefore, you start questioning the feedback quite a lot. But if you approach it in a clean slate, you approach it in a way that you're thinking, no, I don't know anything, right? If you don't know anything and you're just going to find out, you're just going to be a sponge and get all that information. However, I think that um, if yes, the information is or the feedback is conflicted, I think it is quite an opportunity to sort of find those commonalities. Yes, it's not quite clear, and then there's a lot of contradictions or whatnot. But I think it's an opportunity to also be able to segment, right? There might be conflicts, but there might be also commonalities between certain respondents, right? You might find that, okay, if you identify certain commonalities, where are they similar? Um, is it for example, I think it's better if I give an example. Like, if you have a pool of different users that you are getting feedback from, and maybe age wasn't one of the things that you considered relevant for the research. You looked at certain characteristics, but age wasn't one of them. And then as you are looking at your feedback and you see this conflict, what you might go back to, what might be relevant to do, or what might help, is to sort of go back to the basics. Go back to the basics of, okay, let's look at the demographics. Where are they commonalities? Okay, there are commonalities in the demographics. Okay, and then where is there also commonalities in terms of the feedback? And while you do that, when you map the commonalities, eventually, while you're doing that, at some point you are going to see what's the one common thing that actually brings them together. Those who gave similar feedback and those who gave a different feedback, what is the one thing that actually, or one or two things that actually bring them together? And you might also learn something new by doing that, something that you weren't expecting, or you might find a relationship between variables that you did not expect or did not intend to sort of determine whether or not there is a relationship. And some of those things can actually result in a pivot in terms of where you wanted the product to go. but by virtue of just that little information or that relationship that you did not know existed, it might actually then determine whether or not you put a feature, or whether you need to introduce a different feature, or you actually might even realize that um, you have potential to attract a different market to what you were actually thinking of in the beginning. I hope that makes sense.
Makes a lot of sense. Thank you so much. I like the fact that you mentioned segmentation, right? I mean, it's like one of the best way to actually identify your customers and their needs, basically. And I mean, when you're able to segment them properly, and you find their common experience or common problem, you are able to move ahead from there. I love how you tackle this. So I mean, going forward, how are we going to like integrate the user feedback into product lifecycle? I mean, how are you able to translate the insights from these feedbacks? I know you mentioned segmentation, and this will also like drive your type of users even while you build the product. But then, what's how are you able to define uh, the feedback? I mean, mentioned something how you're able to find their common pain points and move ahead from there. I mean, if you get the common pain point, how do you fit it in into the product life cycle? I mean, how do you use it to build um, your solution and up until the end that you ship it to the market?
Okay. I think when it comes to the product life cycle, right? It's very important to define at what stage you are, because that kind of determines even the kind of research you do. So if you are still in the strategizing phase, or where you're trying to decide the features of the product that you want to introduce. Let's say you've got a new product you're thinking of doing. um, it's new. You're not in this market yet. You are just introducing something. The research that you do compared to the research that you do when you already have a product and you just want to improve it will be totally different, right? Even the kind of feedback you want to get from customers, or from your users rather, it would be very different from the feedback you get when you're further along in the product life cycle. So I think when you are in that stage, it's sort of, even your research plan, or the questions that you answer would be sort of more like in the in the realm of, is there room for this kind of a product? Would a customer use, or would a user use the kind of product that you are thinking of, and what features would work for them, right? And I think the type of the methods that you use would therefore be informed by that. So I think in terms of how you then take that feedback and put it back into, like, in the stage, into, okay, then what features do I include? I think it depends on your method. Would really be important at this stage. Like, do you do interviews, right? Your interviews tend to be more, you get more information because it's more open ended. Your users, you can ask follow-up questions, so the feedback that you get would kind of be very clear. And hence I'm saying that your plan, or your methodologies and your plan and the questions you're trying to answer need to be very clear, because if you've decided to do interviews, you need to ask the relevant questions, and when you bring it back to the research question, then you should easily be able to map it to map it back there. For instance, if you're asking customers, let me get a simple example, right? You want to introduce a health app, for example, and when you sort of, if you're doing interviews, then your questions would be more on the lines of, understanding the current behavior when it comes to health. Are they currently using anything? that fulfills the same purpose that your app would then be fulfilling, and what do they like about it? How often do they use it? Uh, Questions like that. If they say, no, I'm not using it, you get to ask why, right? And then when you know the why, and that's how you get the insights. I'm trying to find an easier way of actually putting it in there, because in my mind, and from my experience and what I have seen, um, you make your questions so clear that when you come back and you do your review with your research team and you're looking at the results, it's a matter of, okay, these are the questions that we wanted to address. Now, if my question was, is there room for another health app? Do these users want a health app? Then as you go back and you check the insights or the feedback that you got, you should either be getting inconclusive yes or no because of one, two, and three. This is the behavior that they are showing. Therefore, if this is the behavior they are showing, this means that my app needs to have feature one, two, and three. Am I answering you there?
Yeah, yeah, you are. I mean, like I like the way you also answered. Like you mentioned that um, you can always go back to whatever questions you asked. I mean, from whatever your feedback is, and you can always send back the team to say, I mean, if this is what you want, why did you need it? I mean, this apart from the fact that it helps you build a product, say for the MVP for just launch. It also helps you go back to the user research and helps you improve on whatever feature that you want to build next, right? You can always go back to it and say, okay, I have this set of customers that have answered this way. Can you go back to them and ask them why they needed this and why we should go ahead and build this? I mean, for the next phase. I mean, uh, I love that. Also, I mean, leveraging into technology and user research, exploring tools and technology to enhance research, basically. Do you think that, I mean, AI and machine learning that understands customers' behavior can help us extend and understand customers' pain points from? I mean, we necessarily do not have to like go look at that data. We can just have like an ML built-in system that just help us look into those feedbacks and they'll basically guide the product manager to know what to build next and or what to actually build. What do you think about this?
Yeah, I mean, I think we live in exciting times, right? I think the biggest challenge we have right now is too much data. That's our biggest challenge
Yeah,
right now. We've got all this data.
that's an honest truth. I mean, it's challenging. I mean,
Yes.
like if you don't have things like segmentation, and I mean, at the end of segmentation, you probably don't even segment them completely. You have things like orders, at the end of the day, which you really don't know the buckets to put them in. You get confused. I
You
totally
do.
agree with that. Yeah.
You do, and that's why we need machine learning and artificial intelligence, right? I think we all know artificial intelligence is just smarter. It's just machines trying to be human, and they're doing it better than us, right? And faster. And I think that's why we need it, because instead of having to look through spreadsheets of data and trying to figure out graphs or using SPSS or whatever tools that they have, it makes it a lot more easier. So data collection and analysis becomes a little bit more palatable, and it becomes a process that we don't dread so much, right? I think it's a matter of, I'll bring it back to having the right teams around, right? If you've got the experts who know how to work with these things, your job is just to say, look, this is what I want to find out. This is what I want to know about my customers, or my users or potential users, right? And machine learning and artificial intelligence then just gives us the ability to analyze large data sets in a short space of time. So what that does for us is we get to make our decisions quicker, and we get to act quicker as well, right? And that helps us in a sense that you don't lose your customers. You don't lose your potential customer because your competitor might act faster than you. But then if you've got these tools in place, um, and you analyze data quickly, you collect data quickly, then you make decisions quicker and you respond to customers' needs much quicker. And that's why we're also able to personalize our services, right? Because we've got access to data about individuals, and we can literally just personalize. And I think another thing is, even our research methods, right? We can do automated user testing now. There isn't a lot of human intervention required. With all these AI powered user testing tools, you easily conduct usability tests. There's so many things that we can do now, and we've got like we've got more options, and we can gather feedback quickly and at larger scales. What's another thing? Even segmentation itself, the things that we humans would probably miss and would take us months to actually realize within the same data. I mean, you're looking at the same data that the machine is looking at, and the machine is going to spit out correlations and things that you couldn't see. Probably you would see it at some point, but you are going to take longer. And technology just helps us to make things a little bit get to do things a little bit quicker. And what I like is that it's not just about data gathering, right? It's also about some machine learning allows actions as well. It can act. I mean, you see these chat bots that we have now. You get onto a website, and then there's a chat bot asking you questions. It's something that basic, and that interaction itself, that's data gathering. That's data that can go into your user research to understanding your users and how they do things, or what they think of things, or what motivates them to do certain things. So yeah, man, I think you need to be able to, I think you need to have the right experts, working with the right experts who can actually even recommend, well, what's the best system to use for whatever, the best way to analyze data, because you might not necessarily have the skills to do that. So if you engage and surround yourself with those people, then you get to actually realize the true potential of artificial intelligence and machine learning.
I like how you make me feel. I mean, when you answer this question, which is that you really can have every data that you want, but still did not get an insight from it, right? I mean,
Exactly.
yeah. So I mean, the ML and the AI helps you do that effortlessly, and I also like the fact that you brought in automated testing for products. I mean, why do I want to have a human being do it when it can be automated, and you just that thing sounds the alarm when that feature breaks or when the product breaks. I mean, it's a lot
Yeah.
better using.
And it's
It
cost
just
saving
helps
as
us.
well.
Yeah, I mean, it's cost effective. I mean, I really do not have to recruit anybody. I mean, a whole bunch of QA team to when I can just have
Exactly.
like every other thing goes through automation. Makes sense. I love that. I mean, there's also like the ethical part of it, which is like user privacy and data security. Why you also, I mean, attend to that. I mean, like we have the insights now, right? As the product guy and probably the UX person that did the research, right? But then, how are you able to pass this on to the designers and the developers, right? I mean, this is very important because I mean they need to understand the goal, they need to understand why we are building what we are building, and yeah, that's it basically. I mean, how do you go ahead to pass on this to the other member of the team? I've seen a case that just because the team understands what you are building the very thing that you as a product manager do not even remember to add into your features, or just one or two things, metrics that you didn't add, they help you build it because they understand what the goal is and they understand why that thing that you have just missed out is also important in building it. And that's because they understand the goal of the solution that you are building.
Okay, so
Uh,
you want to know
yeah,
how you pass on the information?
yeah,
Okay, I'll make this one, I'll make this one personal, right? One thing that I've learned in my years as a product manager is that as a product manager, you have to be the CEO, right? And a lot of people would say, yeah, product managers are CEOs without much authority. But actually that's not very true, right? And the thing with being able to pass on information is that you need to understand that as much as you might be the CEO, you can't get anything done without any of these people. Your design team, your marketing team, even finance, right? You need all of those people. So for me, what I found to be the best way to do it is obviously having everyone involved from the very beginning. And the reality is when it comes to the design team or the technical guys is that they build, if you already have a product and you're looking at doing new features, they've already built it, so they have an understanding of the product itself, right? And they can even tell you what's happening in the back end. Whereas um, from my perspective, I'm the advocate for the customer, and as much as I might be the advocate for my customer, I need an advocate for the technology. So from the very beginning, when I'm starting to do this user research, I need them involved. I need them involved so that when they understand what I'm trying to do, what questions I'm trying to address with the research, every time you have research, you have an intention. You have an intention as to possibly what it is you want to achieve. The research is just going to help guide your steps afterwards, to guide in terms of what steps you must take to get to the goal. You are thinking of introducing two or three new features. The research is going to come back and tell you what's the best way to do that, or what's the best feature to start with, or what's the best feature to maybe leave out. Maybe this feature is not important. Whereas now your design guys need the very same understanding that you are trying to get from the research. So for me, it's a matter of, guys, let's all start this journey together. Yes, from a product perspective, I will be held accountable, right? It's up to the product manager to make sure that the outcome or the output is what they want, because essentially you do need to motivate as to why the research is important, and afterwards you're going to have to show the value of that research. But I think that the teams that you work with are just as important, in if not more important, in that journey. If your design guys are already with you from the beginning and you are saying to them, listen, this is what I want to understand with this research, these are the questions that I want to answer, and they might actually also be able to contribute in terms of having that understanding of how design works, so how it was initially designed. They might actually be able to say, let's to these questions add this one as well, because it will help you with 1, 2, and 3. So now that way, when you've got everybody involved, including marketing, then everybody has the same understanding. And when you have that same understanding, then it becomes easier to go back and forth. Or actually, you actually don't even need to go back and forth, because everyone has the same understanding. And I think what's also important in that same understanding is understanding each other's roles. In terms of, okay, as a designer, what's my role in this research? Because I promise you, everybody has a role to play. Everybody has a role to play, and everybody has something to contribute, and that's the approach we need to take, right? I'm wearing the product hat, I'm the CEO, yes, but I need all of you here to contribute something. And I think different roles will give you different types of feedback or different types of input. Whereas the marketing guys or whoever will be a bit more, or the designers will be a bit more on the creative side, and then the tech guys will come in with their technical expertise. That's where you then get to have a pool of people with diverse perspectives, right? Who are looking at things differently, and they might be looking at it differently from you, which in a way kind of helps you. And I think, just to add on to that as well, the most important thing, it's also about the organization in general, right? What's important is obviously the culture. What's the culture like? Are we all driving towards the same thing? And you might find yourself in a position where you have to drive that, to make sure that with the team that you work with, you are all in the same mindset of customer centricity, right? Putting the customer first in terms of um, sort of every decision that you make or every question that you ask, you can always take it back to, okay, how does it serve our customer, and how does it serve our goal as a whole? And from an organization perspective, I think what's also important would then be the technology that's in place. Is there technology that is conducive for you to share information together with, to share information with the relevant parties that you're working with? Because if you don't have those tools, then it becomes difficult. Then it's like, okay, what should I send? An email? Should I send, I mean, let me give an example in terms of, you know how we gather customer feedback on different platforms. That feedback needs to go somewhere. You need technology for that. That feedback and those insights that come from there need to go somewhere. There needs to be a tool that can be used to distribute that information. And you also need, from a governance perspective, to know who's responsible for what, to have an understanding of when this types of feedback comes in. If it's a customer complaint, for example, a customer is complaining about not being able to use a certain feature of our product, where does that feedback go? You need to not only have the technology that enables that information sharing, and also makes it easy for people, the relevant people, to access that information, but also the necessary structure that enables you to be able to work with the relevant parties, to be able to share that information and that insights with the relevant people, and then be able to sort of implement, or everyone can actually play the role that they need to play. If it's the design team and they need to fix a bug, or the tech guys who need to fix a bug, then they need to get that information. And it's also about how, also technology that supports fast distribution of information. I complain today, I cannot get feedback, or it cannot be fixed a week later, right? Surely when I complain now, customers now sort of want fast feedback. So if I report an issue now, I expect that somebody who's sorting it out is going to sort it out within the next hour. And if they're not able to, somebody needs to communicate to the customer and give them those timelines. In the back end, what happens is that I might be getting that information, but I cannot necessarily fix it for the customer. I need to make sure that I talk to someone, in whether in the tech or design or wherever, that they can fix that issue. Now, it's important that information flows quickly, and it's not there's no gatekeeper as to who's getting what information or who's not getting what information. If the structure is there that supports the sharing of information, then it makes it easy to actually put the insights to work and actually get some actions out of them. I hope that answered you. I went on for a while.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, it does. Thank you so much for this. And yeah, this is like the final for this. The final question, basically, which is that um, what's like the future trends for user research and product management, basically. I mean, user research is more of the starting point for product management, but then what's like how are we shaping the future with um, user research, anticipated trends in how product managers approach user-centric designs, basically.
Um, I think it's actually quite an exciting time for product management, but I think it also depends on obviously the industry you're in or the organization that you might that you find yourself in, right? And I think the biggest thing that we are all in terms of the trends, I think the biggest thing is obviously technology, right? And technology has existed for a very long time. And yes, it's also evolving and things are changing and it's getting better and better. But the important thing is how you are using that technology to your benefit, not only to your benefit actually, but to the benefit of the people you are serving, right? And we've already touched on this, but I think we are yet to actually fully utilize artificial intelligence. There's still a lot that we can do there. And I think that's one of the trends that we are definitely going to be seeing going forward as more and more companies are more open to actually integrating this technology. In their organizations, the way we leverage the data and the way we predict user behavior. I think that's what we want to do. We want to actually be able to predict user behavior, because if you can predict it, then you can easily provide, you can easily give a customer what they want when they want it. And when you, to, at the time when you introduce a product or a new feature, you're already sure that it's going to work. And that can only be enabled by how you actually use the data and how you interpret the data that you are getting. So the availability of tools like your natural language processing, I think now we're at a time where you could literally in addition to these chatbots, there's also um, a point where you are speaking to you're speaking to a machine like you're speaking to a human being. You think you're speaking to a human being, but actually you're speaking to a machine. And that's part of natural language processing, where it actually understands and it can actually interpret or understand the message that you are sending and respond and respond accordingly. I mean, we already have the likes of Siri and there's Watson and all of them, and now we actually get to take them and use them in a way that actually benefits business. For now, we've been focusing on our phones. Yes, on our phone, I've got Siri. But imagine what you could do with Siri from a product management perspective today in your business. If you were to have something like a Siri, it would be amazing, right? I mean, and that's where I think we're probably going, where we have these innovative and out of this world kind of ways of doing not only research but also customer service, because customer service plays a huge role in that's feedback. Customer service and customer support, that's in a way important feedback that you get from customers that you can actually use to then inform your product designs. And I think another important thing, it might seem like it's not that important, but actually emotional intelligence, right? We need product management that product managers who have a certain level of emotional intelligence, and it's a critical skill. And the reason it's a critical skill, it's because you need to be able to understand customer needs. You need to not only that, but you also need to be able to foster team collaboration. And the best way to work with people is to have emotional intelligence, to understand that we are all individuals, just like your customers or your users are individuals, so are the people you are working with. And if you are going to deliver proper user-centric designs, you need to be able to work with people and you need to be able to understand people. And emotional intelligence gives you that edge that not only helps you to deal with your external customers, being your users, but also your internal customers in a way that actually makes sure that everyone is driving towards the same goal, which is to obviously improve your service or your products for your customers. Lastly, what I want to touch on, the last thing is agile methodologies. I mean, we all talk about it. It's been something we talk about it for years now, but I don't think companies have actually quite cracked it as yet. I think yes, you'll hear project managers talking about Scrum and all of that, but I think it's also very important from a product management perspective, because sometimes you have to move fast, if not every time, because the market changes so quickly that you need to be able to work in a way that embraces these agile principles and frameworks, so that you can foster those cross-functional collaborations and innovation, and be able to actually meet your customer demands. But you need to be able to work at a certain pace, because your competition is not necessarily looking at you and thinking you're not doing anything. They're going to work as fast as they can, because something might, I mean, and we've got so many fads today. Something is in today, tomorrow is no longer in. Customers have lost interest. So now it's on to the next thing. So the faster you move, the quicker you are able to address your customers' needs, and the quicker you are able to actually retain and grow your market share. I think I'll stop there.
Yeah, thank you so much, Kia. Thank you for dropping the gems, and thank you for actually helping us put an insight to to our questions. I'm very sure that people, I mean, taking down a lot from how you respond to the questions, and I like the fact that um, you are thinking and responding to them in a bigger scope. I love that. Before we close out on this section, do we have anybody that have a question? Um, so we can take them. If you don't want to talk, you can just drop them on the um, chat section. I'll pick them up and read out accordingly. We'll just do that for the next 5 minutes. Do we have any question? It's obvious that you are very understanding, and I believe if anybody has any question, they can as well just drop it in our community Slack. I'm sure the organizers are able to pass it on to her, or she will also be joining the community to respond to them. Um, Thank you very much. Please do well to subscribe to our Instagram channel, LinkedIn. We are also on Twitter and Trend at Probar. And up until next time, keep innovating, keep learning, and keep being passionate about the world of product management. Um, Finally, thank you, Kia. Thank you for your time, and thank you for dropping all of the gems. Thank you, everyone. Up until
A
next time.
pleasure. Thank you so much.
Yeah, you're welcome.